What in God's name? The words hung in the air, barely more than a whisper, but they seemed to echo off every wall in the control room. Dr. Anya Petrova, lead scientist for the Mars exploration program, trailed off, her words just kind of lost in the static-filled room. Her eyes darted from one monitor to the next, searching for an explanation that simply wasn't there. The control center was buzzing with activity, but honestly, there was this eerie silence hanging over all the scientists and engineers. Every keystroke and hushed conversation felt amplified, as if the room itself was holding its breath. They stared at the audio waveform on the screen, faces a mix of awe and disbelief. No one dared to look away, afraid they might miss something crucial. The signal, faint but unmistakable, had come through just moments ago. It was unlike anything they'd ever picked up before, an anomaly that defied all logic. It was a distress call from Mars. The words flashed on the screen, sending a chill down everyone's spine. A voice, distinctly human, speaking in clipped British English, crackled through the speakers. "Mayday, Mayday, this is..." The accent was unmistakable, and the urgency in the tone was chilling. The transmission cut out abruptly, just swallowed by static. The room was left with nothing but the hiss of white noise and pounding hearts. "Run it again," Anya whispered, her voice trembling just a little. She barely trusted her own ears. The room held its breath as the recording restarted. Every eye was glued to the monitors, every muscle tensed in anticipation. Again the voice echoed, desperate and alone, a chilling whisper from millions of miles away. It was a plea that seemed to reach across the void of space. Anya rubbed her temples, trying to process the impossible. Her mind raced with questions, none of which had answers. They had landed rovers on Mars, sent probes into the furthest reaches of the solar system. They had mapped the Martian surface, but never expected this. But a human voice, from the red planet, it was inconceivable. The very idea threatened to upend everything they thought they knew. Yet there it was, undeniable, echoing in the silence of the room. The mystery had only just begun, and no one could look away. There must be a logical explanation. There always is, or at least there should be, especially here, in the heart of mission control, where logic and reason are supposed to rule. Dr. Daniel Hayes, the mission's chief engineer, ran a hand through his already disheveled hair, his mind racing through every possible scenario. A prank, a rogue signal, interference from something, anything that could explain the impossible. But the voice, "Daniel," Anya countered, her Russian accent thickening with stress. "It's too clear, too human. It doesn't sound like static or a computer glitch." It was true. The voice, whoever it belonged to, carried the weight of genuine fear, a stark contrast to the cold, sterile environment of the control room. It was as if the emotion itself had travelled across the void. "We've never sent a manned mission to Mars, Daniel," Anya said, just stating the obvious. The facts didn't add up, and yet the evidence was right in front of them. The very foundation of their understanding of human history seemed to crumble. Everything they thought they knew was suddenly in question. How can there be a man? She couldn't even finish the sentence. The words caught in her throat, too impossible to say aloud. The room erupted in nervous chatter. Every face reflected a mix of disbelief and fear. Theories, wild and varied, were thrown around like confetti. Some clung to reason, others to wild speculation. A hoax? An elaborate prank? A hallucination? No one wanted to believe the alternative. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. This was real. And it terrified them, because reality had just become stranger than fiction. Days turned into sleepless nights. The team, working around the clock, meticulously analyzed the signal. Every hiss and pop of static was dissected, every variation in frequency just scrutinized, but the results were inconclusive. The voice, however, was not silent. In short, fragmented transmissions, it painted a picture of desperation and confusion. "Lost! Can't see!" the voice rasped, the words distant and distorted. Then a plea, chilling in its urgency. "Help me!" The messages, while infrequent, were enough to keep the team on edge. Every time they thought they had it figured out, a new transmission would throw them back into the abyss of uncertainty. The world watched, captivated and terrified, as the impossible unfolded. The scientific community was in an uproar. Governments issued statements of cautious curiosity, and conspiracy theories ran rampant. What if it's not from Mars? Dr. Chen, a young astrophysicist on the team, finally voiced what everyone had been thinking. What if the signal originated somewhere else and we're picking it up as if it were coming from there? Anya considered this. Possible, she admitted, but highly improbable. The signal triangulation is precise. It's definitely coming from Mars. Unless, Daniel interjected, his eyes fixed on a schematic of the rover, someone is using the rover itself to relay the signal, a hack of sorts. The thought hung heavy in the air. Could their systems be compromised? Was someone somewhere orchestrating this elaborate hoax? But for what purpose? The mystery deepened, casting a shadow of doubt over everything they thought they knew. "Good God!" Daniel whispered, his face pale. A new message had just come through. "Does anyone remember the Ares project?" the voice asked, a hint of desperation creeping into its tone. "Tell them—" The transmission ended with a metallic screech. The room went deathly silent. Everyone knew of the Ares project, a failed NASA program from the 1970s, shrouded in secrecy and rumored to involve a manned mission to Mars. Officially, it never left the planning stages. Anya felt a chill crawl down her spine. Could the rumors be true? Was there a connection between this mysterious voice and a long-forgotten chapter in space exploration history? The impossible was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The past, it seemed, was not content to stay buried. The transmissions grew more frequent, the voice weaker, more desperate. They were able to piece together fragments of information, painting a harrowing picture of a desperate struggle for survival. "Dust! Everywhere!" the voice rasped. "Can't breathe!" Then a plea, heartbreaking in its simplicity. "Please tell them I'm here, The message cut out, leaving a chilling silence in its wake. Whoever was out there, lost and alone on the desolate Martian surface, was running out of time. Anya and her team worked tirelessly, their initial disbelief giving way to a desperate need to help. But how do you rescue someone from a place you never sent them to? As the team delved deeper, they began noticing anomalies in the rover's systems. Minor glitches at first, easily dismissed as the harsh Martian environment taking its toll. But then the glitches became more frequent, more deliberate. "It's almost as if," Daniel said, his brow furrowed in thought, "someone is trying to communicate with us." He pointed to a series of seemingly random code errors. "Look at this. The sequence, it's not random, it's binary. Someone is using the rover's systems to send us a message." A cold realization dawned on Anya. They weren't just dealing with a voice from the past. They were dealing with something far more complex. Something that could interact with their technology. Something intelligent. After days of painstaking work, Daniel managed to decode the binary message. It was a set of coordinates, a location on the Martian surface. A location not far from where the Ares project, according to the rumors, had planned their landing. "This can't be a coincidence," Anya said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's all connected somehow. The voice, the Ares project, this location." They rerouted the rover, directing it towards the coordinates. Each bump and jolt of the rover's journey across the Martian landscape felt like an eternity. As they neared the location, the feed from the rover began to distort. Static interfered with the video signal and the audio crackled with an eerie energy. Then, through the static, they saw it, an object half buried in the red sand, its shape vaguely familiar. The rover, under Daniel's careful control, inched closer, its wheels crunching over the ancient Martian dust. Every movement was deliberate, the tension in the control room almost palpable as the team watched the feed in real time. The object, revealed in its entirety, sent a collective gasp through the control room. It was a spacecraft, one that had clearly been buried for decades, if not longer, hidden beneath layers of red soil and time. But not one of their own. Its silhouette was unfamiliar, its lines and angles foreign to any design in the current registry. This spacecraft was older, its design unlike anything Anya had ever seen. The hull was battered, pitted by years of Martian storms, yet it retained an eerie sense of purpose. It was clearly man-made, but of a technology that seemed both primitive and impossibly advanced, as if built by hands that understood more than they should, yet lacked the tools of the present. And then the camera focused on the side of the craft, zooming in as dust drifted away to reveal something extraordinary. There, etched into the metal, faded but unmistakable, was the insignia of the Ares project. The symbol was battered, but its meaning was clear to everyone in the room, and beneath it, scrawled in what looked like dried blood, a single word: help. The letters were jagged, desperate, as if carved in a final moment of hope or terror. The audio feed crackled back to life, filling the room with static and anticipation. But it wasn't the British voice they had come to recognize. Instead, a new presence emerged from the static, haunting and unfamiliar. This voice was different, older, weaker. It trembled with exhaustion, as if reaching across decades of silence, and it spoke in a language Anya didn't understand, but one that sent shivers down her spine. The words were guttural, almost pleading. The transmission ended as abruptly as it began. The silence that followed was deafening. No one dared to speak, as if words might shatter the fragile reality they had just witnessed. Anya stared at the screen, at the impossible craft, at the chilling message. Her mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. So many questions, so few answers. The room was thick with uncertainty and fear. Who was the British voice? Was it a survivor or something else entirely? What happened to the Ares project? Why had it vanished from history, its fate erased from every record? And what in God's name did it all mean? The implications were staggering, the danger perhaps unimaginable. The mystery, far from being solved, had only deepened. Every answer seemed to birth a dozen new questions. The face on Mars stared back at them, a silent testament to a past that refused to stay buried, a future full of terrifying possibilities. It was as if the planet itself was guarding its secrets, daring them to look deeper, and somewhere out there on the red planet, something watched, something listened, something waited. The story of Mars was far from over.